Hi everybody. In this episode, we're going to talk about Ramondin, a man who is married to this woman. And this woman, as you can see, is a mermaid, but only Saturday evening between Saturday and Sunday. So what's going on? What is going on with this story? The story comes from France, but it seems to be a deeply ancient European legend. And the implications of the story are absolutely ridiculous. And what's going on is we're going to look at the story from Robert Charroux, given by Robert Charroux in The Mysterious Past, and it's from the Ehendares manuscript. And I believe the story gives us indications that a lot of it was written about Egypt, and in fact, it's not one story, but it's stories blended together. And Charroux himself says that the story is very long and cantankerous and talks about many lands, and that's an indication the story is a blend of other stories. And inside this blend seems to be the story of the excavation of some pyramid in Egypt, maybe the Great Pyramid. Because after all, we all know that the Arabs have always been excavating the pyramid, but when they went in there in the 6th century, they didn't find anything. They found, I think, a gold sphere or something, and that's about it. There was nothing in there. I mean, did the Romans not excavate the Great Pyramid? Did they think it wasn't worth it? I mean, the Romans? Did the Hellenistic Greeks not excavate the Great Pyramid? They were only there for about 300 years. Did they think it was not worth it? What about all the Persians? They were in Egypt. Did they not have a look? What about all the ancient empires? The Assyrians, did they not have a look? Everyone must have gone in there, but we don't know what anyone says. So there must be ancient European legends of the investigation of the Great Pyramid, and that's what we're going to look like. And I've suggested in another video that the king at the Grail quest, what were they questing for? If Merlin was messing with Stonehenge is to about 2000 BC. So the story is very, very deeply ancient and deeply primordial. And in the Arthurian legend, this is Lancelot, he goes to the Chapel Perilous. What is the Chapel Perilous? It sounds like a perilous archaeological expedition. They're not going to Jerusalem because it's pre-Christian. And he goes and he finds this body covered in a shroud. And he needs this shroud because the shroud itself is medicinal for another knight that's sick. But it seems to me he stumbled on an Egyptian mummy. They're looking for some ancient technology. And before I get into the Melusine Legend proper to explain what's going on with the links to Egypt, we need to look at the Angevins. According to the story, Melusine was actually a childless woman from the UK, and her father was buried in a pyramid in Northumbria, whatever that means. Like a mountain or something like that. But we don't know of anything like that. And this is the crest of the Angevins. And the Angevins were the most ruthless, dastardly, insidious, crazy, greedy, micromanaging, psychopathic bunch of rulers you could ever hope for. Absolutely extraordinary. And this is King John. This is King John's only effigy. It's from his tomb, so we know it actually looks like King John. It's the only one that does look like King John. This is bad King John. Absolute psychopath, micromanaging, crazy, annoying, annoyed his nobles into a civil war, and so they even gave England to the Pope. So they had to make war on him, Magna Carta, get their lands back. And this family is descended from Melusine. It's just unbelievable, these characters. They're amazing. If you want to know what the Angevins are like, look at Longshanks. Longshanks was one of the last Angevins. Look at his role in Braveheart. Just crazy, where he throws his son's friend out the window. Now that may not be true, but he really was quite ruthless. And look at Richard Lionheart. This is all an area of history I've studied. He said, "My family comes from the devil." He was referring to Melusine, because this was popular in the Middle Ages, and is going back to the devil. And I guess he was right. Even Richard Lionheart, the only reason he was good is that unlike his other family members, his descendants and forebears, he was never in England, so everyone thought he was a mighty king always away in warfare. But the fact is, he died in France because he was unwilling to accept the surrender of a castle over a trifling debt and their pardon. He wanted to set all the rules. And they were all like this. All the Angevins were as ruthless as him. And the Melusine legend also comes from Poland. There's a story that on the Vistula River in Warsaw, there was this thing living, and it's called Melusina. And it was attacked by bandits. It was saved by some local people, and from then on it picked up a sword and shield and vowed to always defend the city in return. We don't know what's going on with that legend. The rest of it's lost. And now we come to the Great Pyramid, and the Great Pyramid is absolutely linked to the legend, and we're going to prove it. So let's get into this legend. Well, the legend is that Raymond accidentally kills his lord, and it seems he has to go into exile. So it seems he has to run away, although this is not specified by the legend. Instead, in the legend, he encounters this type of woman, but she's not a mermaid at all. She's just a normal woman. She's a queen in some faraway land, and he marries her. And as a specification, she's not. He said 1 day a week she's going to bathe, and he's not allowed to have a look. Okay, that's the only specification. So this all happens, and one day what happens is he's got there's a worm tongue in the family who's telling him, oh, everyone's talking. She's seeing someone else. You have to go and find out what it is. But it seems to actually find out what it is, he has to go on a kind of quest. He has to go a long way away. And she's devised 3 magical traps to stop him from finding out. And the first magical trap is, what happens is, every time he tries to leave Poitou, which is where this is apparently, his kingdom is, the kingdom is located, he ends up back where he is. And this seems to me, it's based on an earlier legend in which he has to go on an expedition but keeps putting it off. So he actually has to go to a faraway land to encounter Melusine. And this tells me these are 2 different stories. One is of a childless queen that he's married, and another is of some type of grail quest, i.e. archaeological adventure where they go to Egypt. So part 2 is he finally gets to this land, and he finds a great tower, and the tower is absolutely insurmountable, but it has a staircase, and as he ascends the staircase, the steps grow larger and larger until the steps are about 6-7 feet tall. So what the hell is going on there? I mean, is it talking about the Great? To me, that sounds like it's talking about a scramble up the Great Pyramid to get inside, to have a look at Melusine. And it's just amazing. I mean, this is. But the thing is, if we're talking about deep antiquity, it wouldn't be the Great Pyramid, because the Great Pyramid already had its casing stones covering it until about 1,000 years ago, unless maybe the Romans stripped it off. But we have this other pyramid in a more northerly location in Egypt, which was apparently the most beautiful pyramid. So this could have been the one where the adventure was held, Abu Rawash. Now that's the Great Pyramid. So he scrambled up to get to some door. And then the third magical trap was that there was a door with hinges, and Pliny actually talks about a door on the Great Pyramid with hinges. And he had to get into this thing, and he was using his knife to try and pry it open. And then what happens is it snapped open, and then it activated a mechanism which flung him into a great room. And the room was covered in sort of seashells, and they were glowing with their own light. And it also says that there was a moonbeam coming in, and the moonbeam was illuminating a moonstone, which was providing illumination in the room. And that doesn't make any sense at all, because a moonstone, it doesn't even give off its own light. What's happening is it's multi-layered, so it's capturing light and then beaming it to the viewer. But it's not giving off its own light. So it's not really going to light up very much at all, to be honest. It's ridiculous. And then what's happening is, because of the light of the moonstone, he sees Melusine bathing, and so this is Raymond here, and he sees Melusine bathing. She doesn't notice. He's horrified. He's horrified with what he's done. He leaves, and the condition was, if he sees this, if he sees that she's essentially a reptile or a mermaid, she's going to disappear forever. And later on, she finds out. And so she says, okay, I actually come from another world. And now that you've found out, I have to go back to that world. And I'd rather stay here, but I have to go back. So she essentially dematerializes or something. and becomes a ghost. And that's the end of Melusine. So what the hell is going on in this legend? So I think what's happening is it's an archaeological adventure. He's gone. He's discovered an ancient biotechnological program. He's found an ancient laboratory. The walls are white with seashells. That means they're white walls inside. It's ancient high technology. He's gone in there because we know about the ancient Supercivilization. So he's gone in there. He's disturbed the experiment. And because he's disturbed the experiment, the creatures in there have to die. I mean, why else would you... and this experiment must have been running for thousands of years, autonomously. A kind of greenhouse. A kind of a biodome. Something like that. That's what this was. And he's disturbed this. And this moon bubble was really a light. And even when he went in there, it said the light mysteriously vanished. We're talking about electricity. And of course, we know that every ancient legend talks about electricity. The Iliad as well, the Odyssey. They have they mention electricity. It's just remarkable. I think that's what's going on. So it could have happened in any part of Egypt. I'm guessing it's Egypt because of those blocks. But the fact is, this could have happened in any land on Earth. Any land on Earth. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll see you next time for more breaking information. Bye bye.